Oh, hello there viewers! Welcome back to another so thirsty episode. If you've been following our channel, you would have known that we've just returned from our Da Tong trip, which is in the Shanxi province. And Shanxi is known as the noodle heaven. So there are probably about 1 billion varieties of noodles in that region. But for us Chinese, noodles represent a very symbolic meaning. It represents longevity, well, because it's long and stringy. So, you know, we usually have them during our birthdays as a way to sort of congratulate us, saying that, you know, congratulations on making it a year older, and here's to many more years to come, hopefully. And so, since Q is turning a year older, I thought we'd do a very special noodle episode. So in today's episode, we'll be trying 3 different types of noodles in Beijing, all of which under $4. So let's go! Our first bowl of noodles is located at a market which we are all too familiar with. Upon entering the vicinity, your nostrils will be hit by the smell of a delicious broth. Nothing but a good bowl of beef noodle soup to start the morning. Oh, look at that broth. I don't know how long they've been boiling the soup. It just looks amazing. And the noodles are hand-pulled by the chef himself. Look at the load of coriander. I love coriander. But granted, it's a 10 yuan bowl of noodles, so the meat is kinda scarce. But anyway, let's dig in. Before I start, I'm gonna try the broth. God knows how long they've been boiling it. Whoa. It's so savory and so beefy, it's so good. Let's try the noodles. And because the noodles was hand-pulled by the chef, you can see the unevenness in the noodles. Something I realized in China is that if you order beef noodle soup, the priority is not the meat, it's actually the broth. And the broth of this bowl of noodles didn't disappoint. I'm gonna add a bit of chili. You can add some vinegar to it. Initially I thought this was someone's bottle of drink, but I realized it's on every table. Noodles represent a very symbolic meaning. It represents longevity. But it didn't take long for us to finish that bowl of noodles, and it was nothing short of amazing. And even though we ordered a small bowl of noodles, which is 10 yuan, it's very cheap. You can also order like side dishes to add on to the noodles, like egg, beef balls and intestines, and it all won't break the bank. Each of it is only like 2 yuan, 2 to 5 yuan, so that's super affordable. It's like less than $1. So you have to give this a shot. Amazing. Our next bowl of noodle comes from a barbecue joint called Qiqi Haer, and it has a cold Korean influence. So this place is a chain restaurant, and it was actually one of the first few places that I planned to visit upon my release from quarantine, but I didn't actually have the chance to do it until today. So we'll be trying a cold noodle which originated from Dongbei region of China, and Dongbei is Dongnan-Xibei, which is the northeastern side of China. And if you know your geography, you'll know that Dongbei is very close to Korea. So this dish has a very strong Korean influence. Essentially, it's a Korean dish, and the Korean name for cold noodle is namnyong. For f***'s sake, whatever. The base is a pickled radish soup, and you've got some cucumbers, half an egg, tomatoes, and some slices of beef. In the Korean version, I don't think that there's tomatoes, but yeah, this is the Chinese version of it. And I think they use some sort of buckwheat noodles, because traditional Korean version is they use the buckwheat noodles. And it's a bit weird that we are eating cold noodles during winter, when it's coming to winter. But well, if you never try, you never know.
One eternity later.
The noodle is some sort of buckwheat noodle crossed with sweet potato noodles. So it's very chewy and bouncy. Very good texture, I really love it. But one thing that surprises me is that the soup really goes well with this noodle. You can't really drink the soup on its own because it's pickled and you don't want to be drinking a gallon of pickled juice. So you have to just eat it with the noodles. It's sort of like eating cold soba. You don't drink the soba sauce. You just dip it with the noodles. Oh, and there's some tiny chunks of meat. So this is a really small and precious piece of protein in this bowl of noodles. Oh, it's beef. It's so small that I can hardly taste it, but yeah. To be honest, this is really a unique noodle dish. Like, I've never had cold soup noodles, and with all the vegetable and stuff, it really is very refreshing. So I would highly recommend eating this during summer. Well, actually, you can eat it whenever you want or when you're feeling heaty. The Koreans eat it to, cool their bodies down. Now with that out of the way, we head off to our next and final noodle place. One that cooks up a piping hot bowl of pea noodle soup. So there is a very popular noodle dish from Sichuan called pea noodle soup, which I've just mentioned before. And it's quite funny to think about it because in most other countries, the noodle is named after the main meat. So there is actually a bit of minced meat on top of these noodles. So I don't know why it's called pea noodle soup, but it's not really the green pea that you use, it's more of chickpeas. In Chinese, this dish is called Wan Jia Mian, which, well, literally translates to pea noodle soup. Okay, it's finally here. We've got the medium level spicy broth paired up with this noodle. And you can see the chickpeas. And we also got some special braised egg inside. And then, here is the magical minced meat that I was talking about. Oh, before I forget, for this noodle you can opt to have the dry version or the soup version. But, I prefer soup. The noodle is pretty thick though. Okay, I'm gonna try the soup first. As expected from Sichuan, so it's got that mala taste. It's just a normal noodle, but given that the weather is so rainy and cold, I think it adds up to the flavor, so it's very nice. It's got that mild, spicy and numb taste from the Sichuan peppercorns, but it's pretty good. The meat itself is... yeah, the meat is definitely marinated, so has a lot of that flavor. Very good. And the chickpea, let me get some chickpea. Oh, chickpea is so mushy. It should be the mincemeat noodle, not the pea noodle. And just to clarify, the mincemeat is pork. So those of you who can't eat pork, don't order this. Order something else. Okay, this is my favorite part of eating all kinds of noodle. It's that hard boiled or soft boiled egg. The egg never lets you down. So I don't know if you have noticed, but initially the soup was very oily, very watery. But now that we are almost done with the noodles and the soup, it feels like the chickpea has sort of disintegrated into the soup. So it feels like a totally different dish now. So maybe that's the reason why they call it pea noodle soup. Makes sense now. So I've got Coke to pair up with this mala soup. And something about the mala gives that spicy and tingly numb sensation on your tongue, coupled with this carbonated drink. That's a party in your mouth. But anyway, many thanks for joining us on this short episode. And don't forget to subscribe and stay so thirsty.